Yes, good evening, everyone. I am audible to you. Okay, we'll start the session. Okay, we'll start the session. Before that, let me just revise what we have discussed yesterday. So about yesterday we have discussed about domain model. Yes, how to make our machine as a domain controller. So for that, first we install the ADDS, then we promoted it to make it as a DC. While doing that, the domain need to be created. So yesterday we created a domain with what name? Zoom.com in my case. So if you want to check your machine has become DC or not, how to check it? I told you the best method is go to the command prompt, type it net space account. So it will be showing computer role name as primary. So that is how we can make our machine as a that is how we can make or check our machine is DC or not. Okay, so with that we have done with this. Active Directory first class, we have 4 more classes of Active Directory. But after the first class, next we have to discuss. Uh, so next we have to discuss about the client and member server that we will see. I think you have sent me the error. So see, generally what you have to do when you are not getting that. So first you check, once you make the DC, your default gateway preferred DNS IP, sorry, not default gateway, preferred DNS IP will change to loopback IP address. You change it to your machine IP address. Machine IP address and preferred DNS should be same. And you check both are communicating with or not. Then you try to join it. So I have seen your error. It was showing some domain name might be proper or not. Name, spelling also you need to check. And you check the preferred DNS IP is given in the client machine or not. And in the server also preferred DNS IP is there or not. You are not able to make DC. So you might be doing some mistake. I shown you yesterday. You have to use which option? Might be you are using the wrong option. So first install the ADDS, give the IP address and preferred DNS. Then go to the flag and click on the flag and use the third option. You try that. I'll suggest you try once more. Otherwise, you create a new virtual machine and do it, because sometimes some files might got corrupted or missing. Okay, so let's start now our next topic, that is client and member server. So next topic is what? Client and member server. So in Windows, we have how many types of OS? Two types of OS. What are they? Client OS and server OS. Based on that, we have two types of machines, client and member server. So first we'll try to understand the definition for client. So client means a computer which is joined into the domain with the client operating system. Then that machine or that computer is called as client. So client means a computer which is joined into the domain with the client operating system. That computer is called as client. Client means a computer that is joined into the domain with the client operating system. Then that computer is called as client. A computer which is joined into the domain with client operating system. So that computer is called as client. Before joining, If you don't join that machine, then what will call that machine now? No, if it is not joined, what will call that? Yes, anyone? Before joining a computer with client OS, what will call that? Before joining. Yes, very nice. Who gave the answer? Irfan Beg. Okay, fine. Very nice. So all of you, please remember before joining the machine into the domain, in Windows, all the machines, whether it is with server OS or with client OS, by default, it will be in work group. So a computer with the client OS, by default, it will be in work group. If that same computer is joined into the domain, how to join? Today we'll see practically. Then that computer is called as client. Simply is called as client. Client means a computer which is joined into the domain with a client operating system. So the client operating system like Windows 7, 8, 10, now 11 is there. Before that, XP. Now same thing, a computer which is joined into the domain with the server operating system. Then that computer is called as member server. So before joining, it will be also work group. Computer which is joined into the domain with the server operating system. Then that computer is called as member server. That same computer before joining, that same computer before joining will be in work group, or it is called as work group. Like we discussed the server operating system 2003, 8, 12, 16, 19. Now the latest one is 22. Okay, are you following? Okay, can I move to the next slide? Okay, now see here. Yesterday we made one machine as a DC. So this machine is called DC. So our name in my case is yesterday was system one. So to make the DC, first what I did, I install ADDS. After installing the ADDS, then I promote it promote to DC by using third option. Yesterday we discussed. So once it is become DC, how do you check it? How do you check it? To check it is become the DC or not, go to the command prompt and type it net space accounts. So it will be showing computer role name as computer role name. It will be showing as a primary. Computer role name, it will be showing as primary. So this is how you will identify the DC. So from this DC, if you create one user, that user is called domain user. So after making DC, if you create a user, after making the DC, if you make a user, that user is called as domain user. But if same computer, I did not make the DC, then that same computer is called as work group. So if you create a user from the work group, what will call that user? That user is called local user. Local user is login from which machine? In which machine that user is created the account. In that machine only that user can log in. Okay. Now, what is the advantage of domain users? Domain users can log in from any computer, provided that computer is a part of the domain. So please remember, domain user can log in from any computer. The domain user can log in from any computer. It can log in from any computer within the domain, within the network, or within the domain. Now see here, we have four different machines. So we have four different machines. Then in four different machines, four different operating system is installed. In computer one, Windows 2012 is there. In 2008, they release. Sorry, this is 2012 is a server OS. Yes. So this is our machine with the server OS. Windows 8 is a client OS. Windows 2008 also is a client OS. And here it is a client OS. So here four machines are there. Two machines are on client OS, two are on server OS. Okay, now we have four machines. In four machines, four different OS are there. So in these four machines are there four different OS. So in Windows, how many types of OS we have? Two types, server and client OS. So here two machines are with client OS, two machines are with server OS. So now these machines are joined into the domain? No. So they are now they are installed with the client and server OS. So in Windows, we have two types of OS, server and client OS. So now here, few machines are installed with client OS, few machines are installed with the server OS. So what is the difference? There is no difference. By default in Windows, all the users machine will be in. All the machines will be in work group by default, whether it is a server OS or client OS. So all these four machines are in client OS. Oh, sorry, all these four machines are with a client and server OS. So when the machines are in the uh, work group, if you create a user, that user is called local user. Local user means in which machine that user is created. From that machine only that user can log in, not from the other machine. If you want that user to log in from other machine, make the changes. So now here, if you by default in Windows, all the machines will be in work group. If you create a user from the work group, which type of user will be created? Local user. Local user means in which machine that user is created, from that only that user can log in. Now, this is about your what? Local users. So if you by default, if you install server OS or client OS, by default, if the machine is in work group, by default, if the machine is in work group, okay. So by default, all the machines will be in work group, whether it is a client OS or server OS. By default, all the machines in Windows will be in work group. So from the work group machine, if you create a user, which user will be created? Local user. So in which machine that user is created, in that machine only that user can log in. Okay. Now here domain user can log in from any machine within the domain within the network. Now here U1 is created. So can the U1 log in from any one of these four machines? Yes or no? You tell me. So now these four machines, they have installed with a separate OS, but they have not joined into the domain. Before joining into the domain, all the machines will be in work group. So if you create a user from the work group machine, which type of user created? Local user. So local user means in which machine that user is created, from that machine only that user can log in. Okay. So please remember, domain user cannot log in from the work group machine. So domain user, very, very important point. All of you, please remember this. So from the work group machine, which user log in? Only local user. From work group machine, local user can log in. So domain user, which is created from the DC, domain controller. Domain users, domain users cannot log in from work group machine. Okay. So domain users cannot log in from work group machine. Local user can log in. Local users can log in from local users can log in from work group machine. Okay, are you following? So now from the work group, which user can log in? From the work group machine, only local user can log in. From work group machine, only local users can log in, but not domain users. So now in the real time, the users will be created from the server, but that user can log in from any machine. So just if you install the machine with either server OS or client OS, so it will allow the domain user to log in from the DC, whether it will allow the domain user which is created from the DC machine to log in from the any machine by default, no. So what we have to do as an admin, after creating the DC, all the machines, all the client machine need to be joined into the domain. How to join, I'll show today. So first we need to join the machine into the domain. So now this machine is with the Windows 8 operating system. So it is a machine with a client OS. So before joining, it will be in work group. But that same machine, if it is joined into the work group, same machine, if it is joined into the work group with the Windows 8 client operating system, then what will call this machine? What will call this machine now? This machine is called as client, because this machine, okay. So now here domain user can log in from this machine which is joined into the domain. Yes. So that's what I said here. Domain user can log in from any computer provided that machine is the part of the domain, or that computer belong to the same company or same department, something like that. Now, can the domain user log in from this machine? Now, yes, this machine became the client. Now here I have another machine with client OS. Now it is not joined into the domain. So this machine will be in workgroup. So can the domain user log in? No. So if that same machine join into the domain, with client operating system, then that computer is called as client. Okay, so now we have one more machine here. So can the domain user log in from here? No, because this machine is not joined into the domain. So then it will be workgroup machine. If that same machine join into the domain, now both the machines are with client OS. So these two machines are called as what? Client. So computer with client operating system join into the domain, then that computer is called. Okay, I hope you are following. Understood. Before joining, that same machine is workgroup. But once a computer which is joined into the domain, then that computer is called as member server. So domain user can log in from any machine within the domain. So in the real time, all the machines will be joined into the domain. That's why whichever machine is free, any user can log in from any machine. Now we have two more machines. Now both the machines are with server OS. Now before joining, it will be in workgroup. So can I? Yes. Now here, this is Windows Server operating system. Okay, now we have two machines with server OS. So by default, these two machines will be in workgroup. You see the heading. So can the domain user log in from the workgroup machine? No. So if one of the workgroup machine is joined into the domain, then that machine will become like a member server. Now, can the domain user log in from the member server? Yes. So domain user can log in from any machine, provided that machine is part of the domain or join into the domain. If you have not joined that machine, then you may not get the desired result, the output. Hmm? Now, if that same computer with the server OS not join into the domain, it will be workgroup. The same machine, if I join into the domain, then that computer is called member server. So the procedure and method to join the machine into the domain will be exactly same. So what you understood? This is our today's definition. A computer which is joined into the domain with client OS, then that computer is called client. What is client operating system? We know member server. A computer which is joined into the domain with a server operating system. So a computer with the server OS, if it is not joined into the domain, it will be in work group. If the same computer is joined into the domain with the server OS, the procedure and method will be exactly same. But joining the machine with the client OS or joining the machine with the server OS. Okay, I hope you are following now. So if these machines are joined, depending upon the OS, so in Windows we have two types of OS. So we have two names. A computer which is joined into the domain with the client OS, then that computer is called client. A computer with server OS joined into the domain, then it is called. Okay. So domain users can log in from any machine provided that machines are the part of the domain, means that machine should be joined into the domain. How to join? Today we'll see. Before joining, those machines are called as workgroup machine. Either it is with server OS or with client OS. So in workgroup machine, only domain users can log in, but whereas the local users cannot log in from the domain. So is it clear to everyone what is the difference between client and member server? Okay, fine. Now see here, local user. So if a machine is in workgroup, if you create a user from workgroup machine, that user is called local user. So in which machine that user can log in, from which machine it is created, there only it can log in. So in workgroup machine, in the workgroup machine, the authentication here in workgroup model takes place through the NTLM protocol. So the authentication here takes place through NTLM protocol. This authentication checks the information of the user where in user database file. So what is the user database file we have for the workgroup model? SAM. We discussed this. Now come to the domain model, domain user. So domain user is created from the domain controller, DC. So domain user can log in from any computer which is joined into the domain. We have to join the computer, all the computers into the domain. How to join, we'll see today. So local user can log in from which machine it is created there. Domain users can log in from any computer. Okay. So please remember, in the domain model, authentication takes place through, yesterday we discussed, in domain model, the authentication takes place through Kerberos protocol. Kerberos protocol. Next, here in the domain model, what we will have? Centralized database file. Centralized database file. And that file name is ntds dot ntds dot dit ntds.dit new technology directory service dot directory information take. So with this we are done with the theory. So we'll start the practical. Before that, let me just inform you, today we are taking the session, or I should say today I'm taking a session. Today being a Dasera also I'm taking. So tomorrow we will not have a session. Tomorrow we will not have a session. So then from day after tomorrow, as usual, the session will be there. So please remember, tomorrow there will be no session. Because I'll be not available. I'm going to our relative's place. So tomorrow I'll be not in a position to take the session. So tomorrow there will be no session. For that purpose, today I'm taking. So please remember this. Okay. So now we are working on a domain model. So in the domain model now we have two types of machines. So in the domain model, which machine is most important? Which machine is most important? So we have to, today onwards, we need to use two machines, server and client. So now domain is represented as what? Domain is represented as triangle. So yesterday we made our DC. So when we configure the domain controller, domain got created. Domain is a DNS name. So yesterday, this is our system one. We made this machine as a DC. Yes. Now, this is our switch. Onto this, many machines will be connected. But for us practical, minimum two machines were required. System one, system two. So everything we'll do from here and we'll do the verification here. So now we have two options. Second machine we should create, or second machine we should use with server OS or client OS. Today onwards we require two machines. So already we made one machine, installation is over, and yesterday we made that machine yesterday as a DC. So whatever you are doing from the DC, you have to verify it from other machine. So that other machine we should create today. So there are two options in Windows. Two different operating system we have, client and server. So we have to create second machine today. So we should create the second machine with the server OS or client OS. That is my doubt. That is the question now. So we should create the second machine with the server OS or client OS. Tell me. Yes. If you don't know also, just make a guess. The second machine we should create with the server OS or client OS. Tell me. Okay, I got one answer, client OS. Everybody thinks so. Everybody thinks so. client OS. Other option is server OS. So we should create the other machine with client OS or server OS. So your answer is wrong. We can use client OS, but in the domain model, the other machine we should create with with server OS. Why? I'll explain to you. So in the DC, if you create a domain user, the domain user you can log in. So we have two machines here. So suppose one client machine, one member server. Member server means machine with a server OS. So this is a machine with the server operating system. This is a machine with a client operating system. So both the machines are joined. Now in the domain model, most important machine is the DC. User will be created here. That user can log in from the client machine as well as member server. This is our client machine because this is a machine with client OS. This is a machine with server OS. So it is a member server. Both the machine is joined. So can the domain user log in from here? Yes. But we have to take the second machine with the server OS. Why? Because whatever you can do in client, you can do with the member server also. But in member server, we can do some additional things which you cannot do in client machine. And what is that? That is the most important machine in the domain model is a DC. If the DC get failed, what happens? Tell me. So in the domain model, most important machine is DC. If the DC get failed, what happens? Can you log in with the users from this machine? These machines are working. So if the DC is working, these users can log in from here or here. But if the DC is down, what happens in the network? Can you able to log in the user from the other machine? Yes or no? Tell me. No, we cannot log in, even though this machine is working. So once the DC is failed or not working, domain users cannot log in from other machine. So in real time, this problem may arise. So how do you overcome this problem now? How do you overcome this problem in real time? Yes, tell me how you can overcome this problem in real time. Because this may happen in real time also. Your DC is failed, the clients cannot log in, even though the client machine is up and running. So how do you overcome this problem? Yes, very nice, Aishwarya. We have to maintain the backup of DC. So the backup of DC can be configured in server OS or client OS. The very nice answer, Aishwarya. That is the correct answer. So in every company, all the important server backup will be maintained. So the backup of DC will be configured. The backup of DC will be configured in client machine or member server. Tell me, in client or member server? Can we configure? Yes. The server in the client machine? No. Can we, domain user can log in from the client machine? Yes. Can the domain user log in from the member server? Yes. Whatever you can do in client, same thing you can do in member server, but some additional things you can do in member server, which you cannot do in client, like our backup servers or any additional servers we can configure in member server, not in the client. So that is the reason in real time, to make sure the availability of the important services available, they will configure the backup server of all important services backup they will maintain. So you don't want to learn how to make a backup of DC? For you only making the DC is enough? You don't want to learn how to make a backup of DC, which is called ADC, additional domain control. So you want to know or you don't want to know how to configure the backup of DC? That is ADC. You want to learn or you don't want to learn? ADC, additional domain controller. It's called the backup of DC. So tell me, you want to learn or you don't want to learn backup of DC? So then if you take the client machine, can you able to do that? If you use the client machine, can you able to do that? No. So that is the reason today when we create a second machine, so we have to use second machine as as a machine with a server OS or machine with client OS? Tell me now. So we have to create today one more machine. So that machine should be created with server OS or client OS. Yes, it should be created with server OS because because once you make a machine with server OS, it will be in work group. Same like if you make a machine with the client OS also, it will be in work group. But once you join the machine into the domain, once you join the machine into the domain, then once you join the machine into the domain, what happens? Domain users can log in from member server also. We can make the backup servers or any additional servers in member server. So by default, when you install client OS or server OS, it will be in work group. But once you join the machine into the domain, the procedure and method will be same to join the client OS machine or server OS machine to the domain. But after joining, they are called different name, client and member server. So client means a computer which is joining to the domain with client OS. Member server means a computer with server OS joined into the domain, that is called member server. So we have to take today, or we have to create one machine with OS. But which OS we have to take today? Server OS, because on server OS we can make we can do all the things which we can do in client. We can do in member server. Domain user can log in from member server also, but we can do some additional things in backup, like backup server or any backup server of another important servers or any additional servers which you are not configured in DC, you can configure in member server. That's why we have to take the second machine also with server OS. So today we have to create again through the VMware one new virtual machine. Again, install in the virtual machine the server OS. Then it will be in work group. Then you join that machine into the domain. Then after that, the same setup will be there in every company. Then everything you will do from the DC and you'll do the verification from the member server. So all the practicals will be on this model only. So today what we have to do, before we go for the break, we will create one virtual machine through the VMware one more. Why we are using the VMware? Because this is the advantage. On a single physical machine, you can create multiple virtual machines. And we can able to, now you practice not only this course, you can do the other course also simultaneously without disturbing your physical OS. That is the advantage with the VMware. It will work exactly same as you do on the physical machine. So if suppose this technology is not there, you have to purchase minimum 2 laptops to do the course. Now on single laptop, you can do it because we can create on a single physical machine multiple virtual machines based on our requirement. Okay, so have you understood this topic? Shall we create using the VMware one virtual machine and we'll start the installation once more. Then we'll have a break. So during the break, installation will be done. So after the break, we will discuss how to join the machine into the domain and make it as a member server. Same procedure to join the machine with client OS also. So once it is done, we will go to the next part, how to create domain user from DC and log in from the member server. Same method and procedure will be same in client also. Okay. Now, now let us create a new virtual machine using the server OS. So for that, again, open the VMware. So this is our DC machine, which we have made yesterday. So if you want to change the name to avoid the confusion, you can just, before power on, you can change the name. So click on the name, right click, go to rename. Now I can give the name. So this is my DC for This is the DC for 4 p.m. batch. So this is my DC. Now, meanwhile, I can also create one more machine. So open the VMware, click on create a new virtual machine. So typical. Next. Select here third option. I will install the operating system. Next. Select here Microsoft. Now again you are installing 2012 or 16. It is up to you. Now here you can give the name or later also you can change the name. I'm giving this as a member server or I'm using like a client. For 4 p.m. batch. Where I'm creating everything in E drive, separate space I have kept. So let me make one folder. Member server or client for 4 p.m. batch. Now for server we have given 25 GB. For this 12 is enough. 12 GB because we won't do much from this machine. Mostly we will work from the server. This machine we will use for client purpose. Now before finish, you go to the customize hardware, go to the CD DVD, then select the ISO image. So where I kept the ISO image, I copied here. So I can select and say open. Path is given, finish. So now this machine I need for this. Now I'll power on and start the installation. So I'll show you the installation. Once the installation process start, we will have a break so that we'll not waste the time. And same time, once we'll come back after the break, this machine will be ready. So then we will discuss how to join this machine to the domain, then how to create the domain user from DC and log in from this machine after the break. So how to do the installation? One more time I'm showing you. First, click on, select the language, click on next, install now. Now here, select the second option. If you use the first option after the installation, you will work only in text mode. You will get black screen. Mouse will not work. So better you select server with GUI, second option, standard edition. Server with GUI. Then next. Select I accept the license. Next. Then here also select second option. We are not upgrading the OS. We need to install second option. Now, okay, next. Now it will take some time. Once 100% is done, one user will be created administrator. We have to assign the password, which must be 7 characters. So already you have assigned one password to your DC. Same administrator password you can keep for this machine also. We can have both the machine password administrator same, no problem. So it will take some time. Meanwhile, can we have a break? Shall we have a break? Okay, so I'm keeping my mic in mute position so that it will not disturb you. We'll have a break just to get relaxed and refresh yourself. Then we will start after the break how to join the machine into the domain. Okay. Yes, sir. Shall we continue now? The installation might have completed. Yes. See, the installation is completed. Now we can assign the password. So already my DC is having some password. Same password I can continue. You can have in two machines same password, no problem. I'm assigning same password. Now we have two machines. This is my DC. This is my DC. Yesterday we made it. So how can I know this is my DC? Go to the command prompt. Type it net space accounts. It will be showing computer role name as primary. Yes. Now go to the second machine now. So this is a new machine with this server OS. So it will be by default in workgroup. So can the domain user created from the DC log in into workgroup? No. So we have to join this machine into the domain. So first thing what you have to do here, as we have done for the first machine, first to make the size full screen. So how we can make the size full screen? So right click on your desktop, go to the screen resolution, then increase the size and make it full screen. Now second thing what you have to do, get the icons, press Windows key, type it icons, then show or hide icons. So you got the icons, you make the screen full. Now give some system name, simple system name. So yesterday we made first machine name as sys1. So I'll make this machine name as a system2. Same. Right click on the computer, click on change setting, click on change. Now here give some simple name like system2. So by default it will be in workgroup. So this DC machine is system1. See here. Yesterday we made no this machine system1. So I made the second machine as system2. Or you can make this as a system name DC, that is a member server. It is your choice. You can do any name. How you can remember easily, that way you write it. Now you check in the second machine icon. Now the second machine name is system2. It is in workgroup. So we need to join this machine into the domain. That is the first thing you have to do. So for that you should have the IP address. Now the setup should be like this. So here, I hope everybody might have received the practical step file. Yes. So you have to do the practical steps. So yesterday we made the DC. After that, how to join the machine into the domain. Don't remove the ADDS. That we will be doing last day. Now how to join the machine to, so create one new virtual machine, make it as a system2. Now the IP address should be this. Okay. So you have to make the setup like this. So we have two machines now. So this is my system1, which has been made DC. Now we have system2, which is a member, which is by default work group. So we need to change it into member server. How to do that? I'll show you. So here, this machine IP 10.1, preferred DNS IP 10.1. Here, the IP should be 10. network only. So I'm giving 10.2. Here, preferred DNS IP should be this. Then only you can join the machine to the domain. Now join this machine into the domain. So how to join, I'll show you. So here we have given what name here, VMnet1. So here also it should be same. Then only they will communicate. So this is the setup you have to use. Okay, then you can join the machine into the domain. So what is the step to join? Here I have written system 1, 10.1, 10.1, system 2, 10.2, 10.1. Then go to the system 2, that is right click property, change settings, change, write the domain name, administrator password. So this machine is joined into the domain. Now after that, everything you have to do from DC machine. So now from the DC machine, if you create a user, which user will be created? Domain user. Before you make the DC, it will be in work group. If you create a user, that will be a local user. Okay. Now, if you create a user from the DC machine, which user will be created? Domain user. So domain user need to be created from the DC and log in from the member server. So this I'll show you now. So this is our machine. Now it is in work group. It is in work group. So we need to join it into the domain. How to join it? How to join? So first assign the IP address in the system network, change adapter. So here showing cross mark. Our DC machine LAN card is connected to which number? Yesterday we connected to VMnet1. Yes. So what is the IP of this? So when you make the DC, this will change, loop back. So you change the IP address and preferred DNS should be same. And go to your DC machine, right click, settings. So network adapter you have changed from NAT to custom. In custom, which number? VMnet1. So in the other machine also same number you have to select. Then only it will communicate. So now come to the second machine. Here also go to your OS, right click, settings. Now change the network adapter from NAT to custom. So in the first machine, which number you have selected? VMnet1. So in second machine also same number. Otherwise it will not communicate. Remember, both the machines should be connected to same switch. Now the cross mark will be gone. We have to wait. Now it will be gone. See, it is gone. Now you can assign IP address. So first machine IP is 10.1. So this machine IP I'm giving 10.2. Use the following IP. So both are same network, but preferred DNS should be the DC machine. Preferred DNS means DNS server is configured where in the DC. So see here, this is the DC. So DC IP address and preferred DNS should be same. So what is the preferred DNS IP in DC? That same IP you have to give here, preferred DNS. Then only it will join into the domain. So up to this, how are you following? Up to this, are you following? Okay. Now I'll show you how to join the machine into the domain. So now join this machine into the domain. So here we created the DC with what domain name? Our DC is created with what domain name? Yesterday, zoom.com. Now my DC machine name, my domain name zoom.com. Now I'm going to the second machine. I'm joining into this domain. Right click on the PCR computer, go to property. It is in work group. So I'm joining into the domain. So in the real time also, you will make one DC and all the remaining machines, all the client machine and all member servers will be joined into the domain through this process. The procedure and method will be exactly same. So right click on the computer, property, change setting, then click on change. Now go to select here domain name. So which domain we are joining? Zoom.com. Okay. Now it will ask the authentication. So here you have to use the administrator, domain administrator name. Administrator @ our domain name. Now this machine is, we will get the message like this. So it means this machine is joined into the domain. Restart it compulsory. So earlier it was showing here work group, here work group. So here it is showing domain name, but here is still showing work group. So once you restart, here also it will domain. So this machine is joined into the domain. So how do you know now which is DC and which is member server? Go to the command prompt, type netspace accounts. So for DC, it will show primary. For member server, it will show server. Now you check the status of the second machine. This is my member server I given. Now you see here. Now it is showing this system2 domain name. And this is system1 domain name, same. So how you can distinguish which is DC? Best thing, go to the command prompt, type netspace account. So if it is a DC, it will show primary. And if it is a member server, it will show server. I'll increase the size. See here, it's showing server means it is a machine with the server OS, but became the part of the domain. So it is joined into the domain. Now this is working like a member server. If it is a work group, then also it will show server in netspace accounts, but here it will show work group, but here it is now become the part of the domain. So like this, if you have 100 machines in the company, all the 100 machines should be joined into the domain, so that when the user is created from the DC, whichever machine is free, any user can log in from any machine, but that machine should be a part of the domain. It should not be work group. It should be a member server or client. I hope you are following. So domain user can log in from the any machine which is the part of the domain, either client or member server, but not work group. In work group, only local user can log in. I hope it is clear. If you are understanding, I'll start the practical, how to create a domain user. Shall I start the practical, how to create a domain user? Okay, so now tell me, domain user should be created from which machine? I have two machines, system 1, system 2. System 1 DC, system 2 member server. So domain user should be created where? Yes. Please remember, all the practicals you have to do from DC. Everything you have to do from DC and do the verification from system 2. So now I came to the DC. Here you see highlighting. I'm changing like this. Now I came to the DC, system 1. Remember, my system 1 is a DC. So how to create a domain user? Open the server manager console. Everything you will do from this console now in the domain model, server manager console. To create the domain user, go to the tools. Can you find here the Active Directory console, Active Directory users and computer? So this is the console you have to use to create a domain user. So before this, on same machine, before we made this machine as a before this machine, now we made this as a DC. Before DC, it was work group. So from the work group, if I create a user, what will call that user? That machine was in work group. So if I create a user from work group machine, which user will be created? Local user. Now this machine become DC. So can you create a local user? No, you cannot create now. You can create now only domain users. You can create now only domain users. So now go to the Active Directory users and computer. So click on tools, go to the Active Directory users and computer. Now here you can see your domain name, expand your domain name. Then you can find the user container. So select the user, select the user. Now you can create a domain user. Select the user, right click, new user. So this is how you can create a new domain user from ADUC console, Active Directory users and computer. So go to the user, right click, new user. Now you can give any name. So for simplicity, I'm using U1, first name, username, next. Now minimum how many character you have to give? If you give 7 character only, it will accept. If I'm giving 4 character, it will not accept. It will say the minimum password length, complexity, password history is not matching, not meeting the requirement. So you need to give minimum 7 character. Now, if you don't uncheck this box, again, you have to change the password. Same like I have shown you the local user. Now, user is created from where? System 1, DC machine. But now we have made our network centralized domain model. So user will be created from server, and that user can log in from any machine which is joined into the domain. Now, I'll go to the system to all control insert, sign out from the local administrator. Now log in with U1, all control insert. Now click on other user. Which user I created there in DC? U1 with this password. So can I log in? Yes, but I need to change the password. So I can give some new password. So admin will call me and give my password, username and password, some common password. And after that, first time when I log in, I can change my password, new password, which nobody will be knowing except me. So user is created where? In DC, but I'm able to log in from any machine. So this is the advantage in domain model. How to get the icons? Go to the search, write icons, then click on show or hide icons, check all the boxes. Okay. So this is which machine? System 2. User is created where? User is created in system 1. So now in the Windows operating system, for good security, they have given password length default 7 character with complexity. Now some users are requesting to the administrator. It is not easy for us to remember 7 character, that too with alphabet, special character and number should be there in our password. So can you reduce our password length? So what is the answer? Tell me. As an administrator, can you reduce the password length or we can't? Tell me yes or no. So as an administrator, can we reduce the password length, which is 7 character? We can give more than 7, but not less than 7. So yes, tell me. I'm waiting for your reply. As an administrator, can you reduce the password length? Yes or no? Tell me. Yes, you can do it, Pranav. Yes, that is the correct answer. Yes, we can do. Who can do? Only administrator. From which machine? DC. So our next practical is as an administrator, how we can reduce the password length so that user can use some simple password. So what is our next practical? Reducing the password length. So it can be done? Yes. Who can do? Only admin. From which machine? From DC. So to reduce the password length from 7 character to our desired value, go to DC machine, open the GPM console, Group Policy Management Console from Tools. Or from the keyboard, you can also go to the run and type gpmc.msc. Same console will get open, GPM console. Expand forest, then expand domain name. There you find default domain policy. Right click on that, go to edit, then expand policy in computer configuration, then expand Windows setting, expand security setting, then expand account policies. There you can find password policy. So there minimum password length is 7 character. You change it to your desired value. I'm giving 0 so that I can create in the future any new user with 1 character password or without password also, because I'm changing the password length to 0 and disable the complexity. So whenever you do any changes from GPM console to change the default things to your requirement or to fulfill your requirement or to do as per your requirement, then you have to do the default changes from GPM console. So whenever you do any changes by using the GPM console, after you do everything, you have to update. If you don't update, the changes will not be implemented or the changes will not be effective. So to update the changes through the group policy management console, we have three options. Either restart the DC, which we should never do, or wait minimum 30 minutes to maximum 180 minutes. That is 3 hours. Nobody will have that much of time. Third one option is go to the run and type GP update. So which is the best one? Third option. So always remember, whenever you are using the GPM console to change the default things to your required things, you have to update. After doing the changes, you have to update it. Okay. Now let me show you. So I came to the DC. Now I'm reducing the password length. So before that, when I try to give the password 4 letter, it was not accepting. Now users are making a request, and even the management has said uh, reduce the password length. So we are reducing as an administrator. So in DC machine, go to the tools, open the GPM console. Now expand your forest. Then you can find domain. So expand the domain. Then go to your domain name. Now under the domain name, under your domain name, your first option, default domain policy. So here, select the default domain policy. Click on the default domain policy. Okay. Select the default domain policy. Right click. So once you click on that, it will ask you, okay. Click on OK. So then it will highlight, right click, edit. Then under the computer configuration, first expand the policies. Under the computer configuration, expand the policies. Then expand Windows settings. Then expand the security settings. Here, first option, account policies. You can expand or double click, both are same. So from here you can open, or from here, account policy. First option, under the account policy, password policy, first option, double click. So password, minimum length, fourth option, double click. So that's why it was not allowing us when we are giving the 4 character, because minimum 7 character. Now I'm giving here 0. Minimum password length I'm giving 0. Okay. Now password complexity is there. So you disable it so that you can use any password length and any alphabet, special character, number. All three are not required. Anything you can give. Now it will be easier for the user to remember their password. So we reduce the password length and disable the complexity. Over. Update this. Whatever changes you have done will not become effective unless until you update it. How to update? GP, go to the run command, right? GP update. Just 1 minute here. Okay. So now check what you have done is working or not. How do you check it? How do you check it? Now go to the ADUC console, create new domain user now. So from where we will create a domain user, ADUC console, active directory users and computer. After update, come to the ADUC console. Now try to create new user by giving 1 letter password. Will it accept or not? Check. If you don't give also, no problem. I'm giving only 1 character. I don't want to change again the password. Uncheck that box. Finish. Can I able to create? Yes. So this is happening because the administrator has changed using the GPM console. Now can it user login? Yes. Go to the member server. Now log out, alt control insert. Log out, alt control insert. Now click on other. Go to the user to single letter password. What is the password? K. Now can I able to log in? Yes. Which user login? You too. Get the icons. Okay. Now, after this, the user one came to know that now the user's password are less than 7 characters. Now he too came to the administrator. Now he requested administrator to change the password. Can administrator change it? Yes. Already existing user's password. Yes. So come to the DC machine, go to the ADUC console where the domain user will be there. Ask the username and select his name under the ADUC console, right click, reset the password. Now instead of 7 character, now you can give him also 1 character because the password length is reduced. Uncheck this box so that again you don't have to change the password. Now I given 1 character. Now how to verify it? Go back to the member server, all control insert, sign out, all control insert. Now log in here, U1. Now I given for him single password, R. Can he log in? Yes. So today we discuss what is client member server, how to create one more time the virtual machine and install the OS, server OS. We join the machine into the domain. Then after that, we created domain users from DC and login from other machine. Now we required for all the practicals of MCSE 2 machines. Then we reduce the password length. Now today we have one more practical. Uh, so when you reduce the password length, the security issue will come. Like if you lost your ATM card, if others get it, so by default they can have how many times they can give the wrong pin number? 3 times. If anybody give 3 times wrong pin number, automatically the card will get blocked. So same way now when you reduce the password, it is easy for the user to log in, but the people in the company, some people might be sitting beside you. So once they see that you are using single letter password, or a 4 or 5 letter password without complexity. So once you move away or once your shift is completed, once you log out and go away, they may try to log in with your name. When you reduce the password length, it is good for users to remember, but it is not good for security. So how many wrong password attempts we have? Maximum in Windows, it is unlimited. There is no limit. So now, is it good to have wrong password attempt, no limit? No. Anybody can break anybody password. So now we have to reduce the wrong password attempt from unlimited to 3. So shall I show you this practical today or shall we do it day after tomorrow? Tomorrow there is no class. If you want me to do now, it may take 5 to 7 minutes. We will do it. No, day after tomorrow you show me means we'll do day after tomorrow. Please tell me. Yes, I'm asking you people. You want to do Friday? Okay. What about others? Friday? Okay, then we'll do it on Friday. So before I close the session, if you have any questions, any doubt, please tell me. Yes, any questions, any doubt? Yes. Any doubt or can I close the session? Okay, I'm closing the session. Happy Dashera to all of you. See you on See you on Friday. Tomorrow there is no session. Thank you, everybody. Happy Dashera to all of you. I'm closing the session. Thank you, Irfan.